Hello and good afternoon. I want to welcome you all to another edition of Fridays with Phil. My name is Philip Dunn, the Program Manager for United States Black Chambers, Inc. And I'm here today with a very special guest. This guy has a lot of great things going on. He is Kevin Knight, the founder of Urban Events Global. Urban Events Global is a travel company of professional African-American adventure seekers. Their travelers enjoy experiencing all that life has to offer through various group travel events, networking, and meeting like-minded individuals with an appetite for fun and exploration. Kevin himself is going to tell us a little bit more about himself. One of the things I want to highlight about Kevin, for many of our viewers, Kevin is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and he is a graduate of University of Texas. So hook 'em horns. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the introduction. I like it.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin, for being here. Thank you so much for bringing your audience here to the USBC on this Friday. I want to start out, I got to lead off with this question that I ask everybody, and I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be the founder of Urban Events Global.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It starts with, and it's funny because right before we went live, I was talking to my mom, who was here at my house at the moment. And so it really started with her. You know, I was born in Frankfurt, Germany, to a military mom. She spent 22 years in the Army. So it allotted me the opportunity to travel the world, right? And so that travel bug doesn't leave you. You know, it's something that you're very interested in. And growing up, switching schools, going from school to school, state to state, you learn how to adapt quickly, but you also have an appreciation for different cultures, different people, and the way they do things. So it was a natural progression from my corporate America days to transition into travel. With that being said, I wouldn't even call it a transition. I never stopped traveling. I would just use up all my vacation time at work to travel. And then eventually I got to this, I had an opportunity, or got to the point in my career after 16 years in private equity, financial advising, to leave that world behind, retire, and just focus heavily on traveling and other entrepreneurial activities.
Wow. So it started really pretty much in the womb then, you know, as far as the travel bug goes, right?
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, pretty much. You know, she, just growing up listening to her stories of traveling to San Francisco, Hawaii, these different places. She enjoyed traveling. She never, even though I was her only child, her only baby, and she was a single parent mom, she never tried to hold me back. You know, she was always like, go do it, go see it, go experience it, go explore it. Never really said no to anything. So I did just that. And that's how everything happened.
I love it. Now, you mentioned something that's interesting to me. You work in private equity, and you worked there for 16 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So at what point did you say, okay, this is it? I have got to go and pursue this passion?
Man, I can't say I was ever really a huge fan of corporate America. It paid extremely well, right? They pay to keep you there. And that's exactly what happened. I had good times in corporate America, and I did travel. I had a pretty huge sales territory. So I traveled for work as well, which kept things easy. The transition happened around 2015, 2016. I was just tired. I was working kind of hard, trying to balance my entrepreneurial businesses with corporate America, and it just got exhausting. It really got unhealthy for me, and something had to give. And financially, it was easy. It was easy to let go of the corporate America salary, only because my entrepreneurial salary was able to replace it at that point, or getting close. It wasn't able to replace it completely, but it was close enough to where I knew I could replace it if given 40 hours. The same time that I was given to corporate America, if I gave it to my own business, I knew I'd be able to replace it pretty quick. And within 9 months of that, I was able to surpass what I was already making in corporate America.
That's an important piece that we need to focus in on, because you spent that time in corporate America, obviously still doing your day job, but then you're working the side hustle or the passion, making sure that you can generate profit from it. So now talk to us about, is this something that, looking back, could you have done this straight out of college, or did you need to go through that corporate American experience?
I think I needed to go through it for two reasons. One, I needed money. So I didn't have that much money coming out of college. So that wouldn't have helped. I came out of college in 2001. Social media wasn't what it is today in 2001. Part of my success is based on being able to advertise and promote on social media, which is a lot easier than running radio ads, TV ads, sticking flyers on people's cars outside the club or something like that. You know, social media allows you to promote your business from wherever you want to promote it from. And that's key. That's key. Word of mouth spreads a lot faster on social media than it does in the real world. And so in 2001, I would have had to. But that's a very unique question and point because I have a 2-year-old, daughter. And I ask myself every day, what am I going to encourage her to do? Start a business right out of high school and just go for it and skip college, or go to college, make a lot of friends, network just for the sake of doing it, and then starting your own business. So that's something that I do ask myself every day because it is a different world, and it's going to be a different world 16 years from now when she's graduating from high school.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that we're talking about this because this is where we could actually shift. This is a paradigm shift for our community. Is if we start focusing more on entrepreneurship and when we create a class of folks that can go out and become entrepreneurs, we can actually close the wealth gap in our community. So I'm glad to hear that there's a lot of discussion with baby Night Night on her future. And I'm sure that she'll probably be the CEO of Urban Events Global.
I hope so, or at least she has the opportunity to run it and let someone else manage it if it's not her passion. I don't want to make my passions her passion. But I do want to teach her the importance of owning businesses. And if she wants to do something else with it, by that time I'll be probably dead. So it's up to her to do what she wants to do with it. But as long as she knows how to be a good steward of business and finances, money, and navigate this world, that'll make me happy.
All right. Now, talk to us about this. You said back in 2001, right? My kids joke with me all the time. They say I was born in the 1900s, right? So they make the 1900s and the early 2000s sound really bad. So obviously today you have social media, you have a very strong community-based travel organization. 2001, we didn't have social media. How did you go about, cultivating this community without that social media presence back then?
It was one of those things where, when you introduced me, you said that I went to University of Texas and that I pledged Kappa, right? And so at the time, University of Texas, I had a couple of things working for me. UT was the largest school in the nation back then, 50,000 plus students. Went to school there. Kappa Alpha Psi. We threw some of the largest parties in the state, Texas Relays. So I already had a network of friends, family, and a support system there. So by the time social media came along, it was easy to transition and bring those friends, family, associates over to the social media world. And that just made it a lot easier. But that was the biggest kind of transition. I think I got on social media in, let me see, I know I didn't get on Facebook until probably like 2007, when I first moved to Houston. I believe I was on MySpace probably in 04, 05. So there was that probably a 3-year window between graduation and social media where it was just, I don't know what I was doing in the world back then. I didn't even have an iPhone until I was late to the iPhone world. That was probably 2010, 2011 when I got my first iPhone, I think. Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting because, we have to talk about this, right? Because there was a period of time prior to social media where a lot of this was just, in the relationships that you build in person. That doesn't replace, or social media doesn't replace the obligation that business owners have to create relationships and networks and to nourish those. So talk to us about some of these long-standing relationships that you had with the folks that, are a part of your travel community.
I never really stopped being social, like hanging out, kicking it with my friends. So it was easy. It wasn't hard to maintain it because it was a genuine group of people that I enjoyed being around, right? So it was, when I first started camp, it was me, my girlfriend, another guy, his girlfriend, a couple other friends. Let me see, Robert Farrell, his wife, a couple friends that we were just having a good time. Posted some pictures online, and it just grew from there. And then friends of friends started seeing it. So it wasn't a huge transition because I never really lost touch with those people. I would see them 2-3 times a week because even though we had professional jobs, we partied kind of hard back then, and so we kept in touch with everybody.
That's another thing I love about the way you translated sort of the things that you did naturally, right?
Mhm.
You translated that into this passion for travel, and then not just travel, but in experiences that I guess you could say specifically African Americans could have, because we weren't out there traveling, we weren't out there experiencing all that life had to offer. And then you combine that with the business and the financial know-how of someone who's worked in private equity. And so you've taken all of that experience. You've taken the sort of the value of just having a good time, and you wrapped it up into a business organization. And then not just in one area, right? We have the urban camp, we have Urban Events Global, and we have other ventures. Talk to us about all the different ventures that you're involved with at Urban Events Global.
Right. So what essentially we did, and if you see me moving around in the background, I'm actually starting my other laptop. For some reason, this one's not staying charged, and I'm on 2%. So I'm going to try to, as we're talking, log into my other laptop right here.
Okay.
So there's no break in what we're doing, but it was an easy transition. The camping urban camp weekend is what we started, is how we started the business, right? During our camping trips. Then a few years in, I started doing my urban excursion weekend, which was our Labor Day trips to different islands. And we just kept going. We never stopped we basically never stopped. And so everything that I was doing naturally, we just moved over to an official business. And so the trips that I used to go on by myself, I just started inviting my friends. And then I was just charging people to set up the experience, right? So that was probably like 2015, 16. That was probably four years in to the business that I started expanding. Mhm.
Okay. And so now we've expanded to different types of experiences. We're going to different locations. I know when I talk to other business owners, they have to deal with suppliers, right?
Mhm.
In your business, your supplier sort of looks like the destinations that you go to. Talk to us about developing relationships with some of these locations, and how you maintain and manage those relationships.
You know,
For instance, I'm thinking about, New Braunfels, right? So
mhm.
Black people, descend upon that area for urban camp weekend. And, there has to have been some upfront discussion. How do you manage those conversations?
It's just a matter of explaining what it is you're trying to get accomplished at their facility, because that's their home. And traditionally, just to be quite honest with you, they're not in a rush to have us on their campgrounds or on their facilities during the busiest time of the year, right? So it's just a simple, you basically money is talking for you at that point, and you're having to spend quite a bit of money convincing them on the fact that they should rent this venue, to you. So it does take a little bit of capital, which is why I said I probably couldn't have done it outside of college, because I wouldn't have had the amount of money it takes to rent the venue. Because when they don't want you on their campground or their facilities, the money will help you bridge that gap. As much as you'd like to think your personality is that great, it's really not. It's the money that's gonna it's the money that's gonna get you where you need to go, right? And so
Right.
that's what it was. And once we did that, we grew it, and we were a good steward of their property, and we took care of the actual facilities. They allowed us to keep coming back, and of course, they were making more money than they've ever made for a weekend bringing our event there. So they benefited. They benefited big time.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, Kevin Knight alone can't manage all of these different adventures. Talk to us about the team that you have in place, and how you assembled that team that helps to make all of this work?
Man, so in 2015 at our fall event, we always had volunteers. We always had volunteers at our events. Ashley Neal was one of the volunteers that actually stayed in touch and wanted to continue working with us.
We're going to pause for a moment while Kevin rejoins us. But here's a couple of the nuggets that I've taken away from this entire experience, this entire endeavor. Kevin just said to us that he couldn't have started this right out of college, or he probably could have, but it would have been a tremendous challenge. He had to go through the experience of working in corporate America, making money, making a salary, understanding how to manage, understanding how to how to sell and market and promote. So that was one route that he had to take. Also, he had to leverage his experience from childhood traveling, and then continuing to travel, and then continuing to build a network, and continuing to work in planning parties, whether it was the Texas Relays or Capitol Beach Party. All those different types of events helped to give him that experience. Also, when it comes to developing sort of a community, we hear a lot of things about cult communities. In this particular instance, you have a group of people that love to travel, and they will spend 3 and 4 weeks at a time, or in some cases, weekends in a row, going and traveling to different events, and they love to do it. So it's one of those situations where he developed a relationship with folks, and he didn't abandon those relationships once social media became more prevalent. So I'm really drawing a lot from those lessons. And if you have some of those comments or some of those lessons that you want to share in the comments, please do so using the comments feature. A couple other things that I noticed is that he's now able to leverage social media, and social media has allowed him to really galvanize his travel community. In galvanizing that travel community, he's able to really keep his cohort of travelers in place, and those folks are repeat travelers within the Urban Events Global organization. So a couple of the lessons.
I'm back in, by the way. I'm back. Sorry about that. I didn't notice until right before we got started that even though my laptop was plugged in, it wasn't charging for some reason. So
that's okay. And actually, that's an entrepreneurial lesson, right? Is that you had that backup in place. We're able to seamlessly transition. And what I did, I just kind of went through some of the nuggets that you shared already. You know, you had to go through working in corporate America. You had to leverage your skills and your natural talent of networking and developing relationships, maintaining those relationships prior to a social media world. And then once you got on social media, you started to work with different folks that understood the travel industry, that understood travel and entertainment. You talked about Ashley Neal, who is someone that's been very visible and a very good advocate on behalf of Urban Events Global. And so that's sort of where we left off. And we also talked about your supplier network or your destination network in working with folks, and how money talks, as opposed to just, hey, I'm Kevin, I'm a good guy, I went to school right up the road from here. You know, that doesn't always work. It's about the financial impact that you can make on some of these destinations. So
right, and I want to dive a little deeper into two things that I kind of skimmed over because I was too busy trying to fix my laptop problem. The supplier part of the question, and also the and Ashley, right? And so, because building a team is very key, and so I don't want to skip over that because she's been instrumental in helping me run this business. But you know, she started as a volunteer. She kept volunteering so much to where I felt a little guilty, and I thought, well, I'm sure I have to pay her something because I wasn't paying. I mean, it was literally a volunteer, right? And so it got to the point to where I started paying her. Now, keep in mind, Ashley is a nurse who is financially well with or without Urban Events Global. She doesn't need us, right? So the fact that she's decided to stick around for the last 6 years in this fun but tough environment is I don't know what to say about that. You know, she's like I couldn't have done it without her at this point, right? So having a strong team is key. You do have turnover as an entrepreneur. You get used to that. This economy is a tricky economy, right? You have people that well, right now with COVID, you have people that don't want to work because they get paid more staying at home, unfortunately, or fortunately for them. I don't know. I won't voice my opinion on that, but it's a tough environment to find good help. I'll put it that way. And so good help is hard to find. And so you really have to hold on to talent and good help as it comes through. As far as suppliers, we do events in Dubai, Cape Town, Thailand, every Caribbean island you could think of. And it has its different challenges because you're dealing with different time zones. You're dealing with different styles of communication. You're dealing with different, like, for example, if you're talking to people in the Caribbean, they don't really check their emails that often, right? They may check it once a week and they're very laid back. So as we're more, let's get things done, let's get a contract, they're almost more like, I said I was going to do it. It's like a handshake deal. I'll see you when you get here. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. These people gave me way too much money for something to go wrong on this trip. I needed some kind of reassurance, right? So you have that. You have language barriers, which is funny because I sent Ashley an email today. She sent an email to one of our suppliers in Mexico because we have a trip coming up to Tulum for Labor Day weekend here in less than a month. And we were asking about how many people a certain yacht can hold, but she said it in a casual way. I think it was like how many people, and then she put PPL. She didn't spell out people. How many people can the yacht hold? And their reply was definitely they didn't understand what she was saying. And I had to remind her, Ashley, you have to talk on a 6th, 7th grade level when you're dealing with people whose language, English isn't their first language, right? Yeah. And so the slang, abbreviations, colloquialisms, all that, you can't do that. You have to be very, understanding of their culture, of their education, of who you're really dealing with and where they're coming from, right? But yeah, those are my 2 follow-ups on before we got cut off on staff and working with other countries, other vendors, other suppliers.
Right. Now, I'm thinking about something right now where, I would take a look at Urban Events Global. Urban Events Global obviously is hot when it comes to travel and entertainment. And then, let's rewind probably about 18 months ago, and no one knows that COVID is coming. No one knows that the pandemic is coming. But obviously pandemics halt travel, right? And so a company like yours, an industry like yours, obviously is going to be impacted by that. How do you weather through a situation like a pandemic when you're obviously a hot travel entertainment organization?
Well, one of the things, and this goes back to corporate America, which goes back to one of your first questions is, could I have done this out of college, or did corporate America teach me some things? And corporate America definitely taught me to set aside reserves, right? You have to have money set aside for a rainy day. My mom taught me that, but corporate America definitely instilled that in me. So we had finances available because obviously the business took a hit, right? It definitely took a hit, but not enough to shut us down and not enough to not refund our guests for those that wanted refunds for events that couldn't take place. It was definitely a tricky time when you're looking at $300,000 to potentially $700,000 of refunds, right? That can concern anybody, and it was concerning for a couple of months, but we were still able to put on certain events. We actually did hold our camping trip June of 2020 and October of 2020. So those events still went on. We allowed people up to 3 years to transfer any tickets if they didn't feel safe traveling. We just said, hey, we'll give you credit for the next 3 years. Just email us when you're ready to travel again. Your money is still here, it's still fine, and you're good to go, right? So besides that, we also run a very tight and lean ship. And so I don't have a ton of overhead outside of myself and Ashley and, putting down deposits for the venues. There's a lot of behind the scenes tools that we use that have fees attached to them, $50 a month for this or $30 a month for this, or, that type of stuff adds up. But financially, we were still operating at, I think we lost anywhere from, we may have lost 60% of our income, but 60% of what our income was still, the 40% left was still good to keep things going and some. So we didn't really see, you know, I actually saw it as a vacation. I took it as a personal vacation. It's like, hey, I don't have to work that event. You know, I have a few more months off, right? So it was.
I was going to ask, you know, how does someone who vacations so much vacation? It
Yeah,
sounds like you needed that work stop.
I spent a lot more time. I spend a lot of time with my daughter now. I spent more time with her. We traveled. Her mom and I went to Florida, to Destin, for a little family vacation. We went to Austin for another family vacation. So we just kind of traveled in the US and took a bunch of vacations. And so I was like, hey, I can't say I was hurt that much, but I can't say I was too upset about canceling a couple of events, right? COVID gave me an out. And I definitely appreciated it. And I appreciate going back to work, you know, and the world slowly opening back up. But you want to be safe, right? COVID is no joke. People are dying. It is a serious issue. It is affecting many different communities a lot harder, many different countries a lot harder than it does the US. The US, based on my experience of traveling through the pandemic, we're the only country that doesn't take it as serious as other countries that have decided to either shut down or really enforce curfews. It's bad. It's like when I fly back to the US, I'm always surprised of how relaxed it really is, right? Like even in the airport, I mean, the airport is the last place you have to wear your mask. Like once you leave the airport, you won't see another mask in the US, which is strange when you just left a country where everyone had a mask on. So,
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, you adapt to every environment. You don't have a choice. You learn real quick that the buck stops with you. But that's not always good because you don't have someone to just tap on and say, hey, train me on this, or hey, can we do this? Can we do that? You have to figure it out, and your decision is final for the good or for the bad. And you have to take full responsibility for those decisions.
And obviously you want healthy travelers that, you know, are repeat travelers and are repeat attendees. So this is something that's obviously important to you. And then I would think that organizations like yours are well positioned for exponential growth because countries are going to want people, you know, coming back in states and in various locations. So I would think that there's some, you know, tremendous upside on the other side of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last 2 years in a row, we were voted top 5 adventure company by USA Today. And even before that, we were on the radars of some Department of Tourism and countries out there where they start courting you to come to their country and they'll pay you to bring your guests there, right? So let's say, for example, Carnival Cruise. When a regular Carnival cruise ship pulls up to a dock, they are dumping millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars into that community. And literally over the next 4 hours, 24, depending on how long it's docked there, they're just pouring thousands of people into the community and they're getting a lot of money. But for most cruise ships, they're only there for a few hours. You get back on and you leave. Our group is stickier. We're there overnight. We're renting. Not only are we tourists that are buying stuff, we're frequenting your restaurants, but we're also staying in your hotels, right? And we're using your transportation for days on end. A cruise ship is going to use your transportation for one day. We use it for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So we're just as valuable with our smaller numbers as a cruise ship with larger numbers. Knowing that, and I guess the mistake they made was giving me too much information, right? So now when I negotiate as if I'm a 6,000 person cruise ship or something coming to port. I want the same amenities, even though it may only be 100 of us or 50 of us or 60 of us. I know the economic power that we're going to bring to that community, and you need to pay us for that, right? And so Or we just go to another island. Like you don't have to pay us anything, but we don't have to pick your island. There's a million places to travel to and to take our guests there. And so we definitely like to reach out to the Department of Tourism and the different government officials to say, hey, this is who we are. What can you provide for our group? And then we start to negotiate the negotiations from there.
I love it because you talk about economic impact, and I want to touch on just kind of give us an idea of how Urban Events Global supports local Black-owned businesses, whether it's at the destinations or whether it's any other time throughout the year.
Yeah, so with let's start with Urban Camp Weekend, right? That's kind of the event that started the company and that got everything where it is today. It's the largest camping trip in the country, and we're on our 17th one, I think, coming up in October. So out the gate, any vendor, any Black-owned business that sells anything that wants to set up a booth at our event, it's free, right? We don't charge them, whether you're selling food, T-shirts, incense, sunglasses. We see it all. There are people that come to camp and make thousands of dollars just selling food. They're food trucks. I know food trucks make money. Right. I know I can ask for money and they would pay it. I just don't want it, and it's not that I wouldn't walk by it on the street and not pick it up. I would definitely pick it up if it was on the street laying there, but I don't want it from our own people that are trying to get their business going. You're trying to get your food truck going, or you're trying to keep it going. Just buy a ticket like everyone else, set up your food truck, sell your items, clean up your mess when you leave, and we'll call it a day. Thank you for coming, make some money. Only thing I ask is promote to your fan base, right? If you're such and such food truck on social media, just say, hey, meet us at Urban Camp Weekend, October 15th through 17th, we'll be there selling our blah, blah, blah. That gives us promotion. To me, that's your fee. Do that, come make your money. And so that's what we do. We give to a lot of smaller, Black-owned organizations. I'm actually in the process of starting a nonprofit. COVID slowed it down through going through its legal progression, but the nonprofit's going to be for African-American students that are looking to travel and study abroad. So we're constantly looking at different efforts to try to give back to our communities. Whenever there's an opportunity to promote Black-owned businesses in our group, if it fits, like if you've actually attended the event, then we'll allow you to promote your business throughout the year in that group. And just so happens that group has about 35,000 members in that group. So it gives people the opportunity to continue to make money. Even if you've only come to the event one time, we still allow you to promote that, promote those services.
Well, Kevin, that's a very valuable offering that you're giving to Black-owned businesses, and also a very admirable charitable component that you have as well. And I think that what it does is it really channels our dollars, continually throughout our community. And so one of the things too, I want to give a shout out to Darius, who's just put something in the comments. He said that I noticed Kevin started, with just one event. And he stuck it out for nearly 5 years building, this audience, and then added other trips later on. And so it's another nugget that we'll share with other folks that either are watching now or will watch later. Is, a lot of times entrepreneurs go into this thing thinking that they're going to build a business on day one. And, this is a journey and not so much something that you do overnight. And so I wonder if you can impress upon that. And then I've got like 2 more questions for you.
No, it's definitely a journey, and you have to start. Well, I don't like to say you have to do anything, but I found it useful to start small, right? And by just doing the camping trip, and it wasn't the fact that I went into the camping trip knowing that, knowing that I would be making this multi-million-dollar travel business. I was just having fun. I really was just enjoying going camping and getting away for the weekend during a summer from corporate America. And we just made it look fun, not intentionally. We legitimately had fun, and it just grew from there. And then I started pivoting into turning it into a business, right? No different than anyone else during the pandemic who may have sold one thing, but started selling something different during the pandemic, whether you were selling masks or some type of protective wear, or I don't know, you closed your restaurant down, but you started a food truck because you could still run your food truck during the pandemic and make money. or you just stopped working and started doing Uber Eats and driving for DoorDash or something, which those guys were making a killing and they're still making a killing during the pandemic because people were staying at home. So as an entrepreneur, you may start here, but you end up going different directions because you see where your passion takes you, where the market takes you, where the money takes you. All of those things are weighing on you differently. Yet was it yesterday, day before yesterday? I just closed on a racetrack, Lone Star Speedway in Kilgore, Texas, right? And so it's a
That was my
51
next
acre.
question. So please tell us about the racetrack.
Yeah, so it's a functioning racetrack. They literally just had an event for the 4th of July. They had another event. We have an event already. I haven't owned this thing for more than 2 days, and we have an event on September 11th. It's the 20th anniversary, so there's going to be a car race there. We have a monster truck event that's going to take place there October 8th or 9th, I think. And all this is in Kilgore, Texas. But one of my business partners, the reason why I even started talking about that, he owns an RV park, Trip L RV Park down in Brazoria County. Young guy in his mid 30s, bought some acres of land just because he loves his kids. He has 3 beautiful kids, loves his kids, loves his wife. And he just wanted to own land. He just knew, I just need to own some land. And he bought some land, I think he put like an RV or something on it, was renting it out. He didn't really know what he wanted to do. Long story short, he ended up developing an RV park. That wasn't his initial goal. That's not how it started, but it just pivoted. And now it's a very well-to-do functioning RV park in Brazoria County, which is why I wanted to partner with him, because he understands the drive, the motivation. Smart guy, went to Baylor, engineer background, but he's just a good family man. And I think that's key to just partnerships overall. I haven't partnered with too many people, and neither has he, but I think I know good people when I see them, and I see where his priorities are, right? Which is family and business. And I'm family and business, but I probably party a little bit more than he does, a lot more than he does, which is even better. I'm up late. He goes to bed early. He's up early. I don't get out the bed until like 10:30 or 11, right? So we mesh well, and I'm looking forward to continue to do business with him. But I say all that to say, we bought this racetrack and RV park. It's 100% Black owned, 51 acres in Kilgore, Texas. We're looking to not only build out the RV park, but we want to continue to do the racing events. But the racing events only take place, let's say, a couple times a month, right? There's 365 days a year, 50 plus weeks a year. There's other events that we can do there. And so I look at it as an event space where we could do concerts, trail rides, you name it. Anything that you can do at a open air stadium, you can do at this venue, because it's very large. So I'm excited about it. It's definitely already keeping me busy this morning, and later on this afternoon I have a few more calls. But we're definitely excited about it, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. Not a racetrack per se, but a bunch of land in a space, outdoor space, and we're ready to make it happen. Another thing that I know you preach in a lot of the groups is just like Black ownership, cycling our dollars, but leaving a legacy behind too, right? And one of the things that I'm so excited about doing is once we start developing out the RV park and building tiny homes and container homes on the property, is being able to name one of those tiny homes or container homes after my daughter. Because technically you're building a community, right? Like you have 51 acres of land. Those are, even though they're tiny homes, or a cabin or whatever it is, it's paid for. It's yours. You own it. Like if anybody ever falls on hard times in our family, they technically have a home that's paid for on our land that they can go to. That will always be there. I mean, unless a tornado or something, barring anything crazy, it's their home. It's our land. And unless it's sold, which we don't plan on doing anytime soon, that's home. That's going to be a potential home for anyone who in our family or friends that need a place to stay.
Yeah, you're definitely hitting on all of those, whether it's, recycling the black dollar throughout the community, leveraging black owned businesses so that they can share in the community that you built. And then of course, generational wealth and legacy building. Also very important to changing the narrative for our community, changing the trajectory for our community. And then partnerships, you also talked about, I know that, some of you Longhorns are pretty finicky about, the folks that you choose to associate with. So to know that you reached out to, or that you're partnering with the Baylor Bear and that you're working together. I know you talk to some Aggies every now and again, God
Yeah,
forbid,
yeah.
it's really
I
important that we
gotta
work together.
I gotta chime in for a second. You're gonna love this. So even though he's a Baylor Bear, his wife is a Longhorn, and so so
Somebody did
let's
something right with family, right?
yeah, but I will say this, Ashley, she just messaged me. Ashley's an Oklahoma Sooner. She
Yeah,
wanted me to make that clear. She's on the other side of the Red River, but
yeah,
she's amazing. But everybody that's a part of that deal is either a Longhorn or married to a Longhorn.
yeah,
Um, but that's just, that's not to say I don't work with any other people. I mean, I work with Alphas.
yeah.
Ashley's a Delta, but I work with Shed Amin. He does MLK Ski Weekend. He's an Alpha. I work with anybody that looks like us, that wants to make money, and that really is about business. You know what I mean? If you're about business, you're about business. I don't care what organization you're a part of, what school you went to, as long as you're an honest person that can wake up and make stuff happen.
Right. I love it. I love it. Kev, I got to ask you for a favor. I need to be the host again. I apologize. That's how great you are, is
Yeah.
that I've given this man the host capabilities, right? And he's done a great job as the host. He answered all the questions and he provided a lot of great content, a lot of great information. And so, Kevin, I definitely appreciate you and your time on today. And
Uh,
one of the things I want to share, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I'm just trying to figure out how to make you the host again. Which one of these settings on my phone
Oh, no, you know
makes?
what? You know what?
Uh,
Never mind. Never mind. Let's not do that. But what I want to do is I do want to close us out of respect for your time. You've been very gracious with your time today for the U.S. Black Chambers audience. On behalf of the USBC, on behalf of Ron Busby, our president, our board, our staff, I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate all that attended on today. There is one last question that came from the audience, and it came from someone who is really an aspiring travel entrepreneur.
okay.
And they wanted to know, Kevin, hey, do you make time to mentor and to sort of share your craft? And if so, how can they learn from you?
I do it all the time. There's actually a couple of camping events that take place around the country. One in Georgia, one in DC, that I've actually helped them get started. Call me 214-577-8326 or knight at urbanaventsglobal.com. They can email me. My information is pretty easy to find. Just if they go to the Urban Events Global website, urbanaventsglobal.com, they'll find my information. Just call me. You don't have to schedule an appointment, anything like that. Just pick up the phone and call. I'll call. If I can't answer, I'll call you back in 5 or 10 minutes. It's not that serious.
It's perfect. Perfect. Kev, again, I appreciate you, sir. This has been so very valuable. Oh, someone's saying, can you repeat that contact information one more time?
Yeah. Urbaneventsglobal.com, URBAN events, EVENTS, and then global, GLOBAL.com. And I'm sure you'll put my information in the in there too. Someone just put it in there, or someone just typed it in there. I don't know who did, but someone just typed it in there, so it's in there now. So you can feel free to share my information, and however you post this later, it's fine.
We'll definitely do that. One of the things I want to share with our folks that are watching is that this is National Black Business Month, and all month long we'll be featuring quality Black business entrepreneurs like Kevin Knight. Next week we'll have Markeisha Watry of Juggle Learning. She will be here to share her journey on how she started learning company. So you'll get a chance to listen in on that story. This interview was also recorded. So we get a chance to go back and dissect and learn everything that Kevin has shared with us on today. So you'll get a chance to watch that on demand at usblackchambers.org/webinars. So with that, Kevin Knight, I definitely appreciate you, sir. I want to give you a hook 'em horns and let you know that we really do appreciate you. And
Hey,
give them one more shout out, Kevin. Let them know where they can find you.
Hey, definitely appreciate it, man. You can find me at www.urbaneventsglobal.com. We're on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Meetup, LinkedIn, everything. urbaneventsglobal.com. We're on all of those platforms. You can find us there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Knight, Urban Events Global. Thank you all and have a great, great and safe weekend and stay safe from this COVID. Thank you all.